All right, good evening. It's Ryan Wood here, episode 3 of the World Softball TV. Lots of great feedback so far of the first 2 episodes. Episode 1, amazing, Mike Bradshaw, Softball Canada. Episode 2, we had Grant Garrett, also known as Reg, and Mike Hironenko. I wish the technical difficulties weren't as bad as they were, but we'll get them on again in the future, and I hope everybody's enjoying the episodes thus far. Excited about this week's guest. We're going to have Jason Legault, who's in charge of project manager with Louisville and Lancelot Diamond Sports. Very, very familiar name in the very competitive world of softball. Gives back a lot to the game, and I'm excited to have him as a guest this week. So stay tuned. We're going to be able to get up close and personal with Canadian softball player Jason Legault. All right, we're here. Jason Legault, all the way from where in Quebec do you live, Jason?
I live 20 minutes from downtown Montreal, basically. Quebec City is much further away, so I'm in the happening spot of Quebec.
Nice. Jason, project manager, Lancelot Diamond Sports, basically in charge of Louisville Slugger. Current member of Jack Saloon and USSSA SVC Slugger, playing in the A conference. Hopefully this year you're going to be able to get across the border and be able to enjoy a season down south.
Yeah, exactly. So basically what I do for Louisville Slugger in the USA is I'm the product manager. Basically, I design the new bats, I design new gloves, batting gloves. I take care of all our advisory staff members. We work on big projects together, and it's a big role. Honestly, it's like, United States is a massive market, the biggest market in the world. So every day there's something to do. We have a huge advisory staff team of like 45 members. So there's always questions to be asked. A lot of behind the scenes work going on. For Canada, I'm also helping out with Legault. I take care of the Wilson ambassadors, which is both Louisville Slugger and Di Marini. I take care of all that for Canada as well.
Now, Legault, and forgive me, thank you for correcting me with how to say it. I've never known how to say what it is. So it's Legault, family company that's got multiple brands that they handle, correct?
Yeah. Legault is probably one of the biggest distribution companies in Canada. For our department, it's called Team Sports.
Okay.
Frank Henry is a director of Team Sports. Yep. And under Team Sports, we have the Wilson catalog. We have Pure, which is like a gym equipment. There's other big names that are coming into play. So it's not just softball. Like I take care of the softball part, but there's much more to it than just softball.
Well, and having such a big company behind the sport of softball, we all know that, Louisville, Wilson, Di Marini, they've all been ran by multiple different distribution companies here in Canada. And it sounds like with Legault kind of at the helm, it sounds like the stability for those brands are in a lot better shape.
100%. You can't even compare it to before because during last summer, during a pandemic, when everything is closed, Legault stepped up and ordered, I don't know how many thousands of 220 bats to have in stock because of the new rule coming. So, they took a chance. They believed in what we sold them. And it's showing now. Like our sales in the US are insane. In 6 months, we've beat the past 2 years of Louisville Slugger. So everything's going like this.
And it's amazing to see. And I mean, I myself personally have never really been a big Louisville guy or even DeMarini, but just swinging like the Natali last year. But I was floored. I couldn't believe the exit speed and the pop that particular bat provided. Even the Cartel as well. I didn't get a chance to swing at Louisville, but just when it comes to that particular brand, I was floored. And I mean, I've always been I was a combat guy forever, and
exactly.
I mean, it's great to see Frank having success in that role. He's always been big proponent of softball, and always seems to find a way to get those types of positions. And I mean, he's good at it.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. I have to give that to him. Like he's improved a lot. Like not just. I'm not talking about softball now. I'm talking about the business side of things. Yeah, he's. When I went back to Louisville and I saw what he was doing and what he was dealing with, I was actually impressed. I was like, yeah, he's come a long way.
Well, let's talk about how you got recruited to be part of Louisville. I mean, obviously, you've got a lot of work that gets done down in the U.S. Being in Canada, especially with the pandemic going on, it's got to make things a little bit more difficult when it comes to maintaining your role and being able to communicate with those Americans and get out to see the people that you need to ensure that the brand is getting the attention that it needs.
Actually, yes and no. I could run everything from Montreal. Obviously, it's better if I can get down there to the big events like, the major worlds, like the Challenge Cup, we were there. It's better that I'm there to talk to everybody, talk to our staff to see how everything's going, if they need anything, all that fun stuff. But everything can be taken care of through Montreal. And we have such a big team in the U.S., like advisory staff members, and so many people that I can trust that I can lean on to somebody and say, listen, I need your help for this. If you're, let's say, in Seattle this weekend, I need you to check this out for me, follow this guy, this player. So we honestly, we build the Slugger team as a family. So everybody takes care of everybody. Nobody's more important than anybody else. And that's one of our big keys to success.
Now, I mean, back in mid 2000s when I was involved with combat and got to be on the advisory staff, it was awesome. It was a great experience. I mean, I was in the prime of my career then, so I was somebody that had a good following and was selected to be a part of that. How are you guys selected? Because I'm not familiar now. I mean, it's not something that I'm involved in like I was in the past. How are you going out and determining, that this person's going to be your advisory member and this person and that person? And I mean, people want to know. I mean, sometimes I look on my Facebook and I go, how is that guy an advisory member? I don't understand.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of word to mouth. Back in those days when you were with combat, there was less of social media as there is now. Now with Instagram and Facebook, 85% of the business is done on there. So to be an ambassador now or advisory staff member, you have to be good on both of those platforms because we get a lot of it's free information basically. Like you can post as much as you want and it doesn't cost anything. So that's a big role of the advisory staff members is to get the product out there so everybody can see and talk about the product. And that goes a long way in choosing who's going to be a member. Obviously I know a lot of the people from playing ball. I've built relationships all over the, USA, Canada, doesn't matter where. So I'm pretty good at reading a person and seeing that he doesn't want to be part of this just to get, 2 free bats and stuff like that. And he wants to put the work in because I watch everything, man. Like I watch everybody and I see what you're doing. If you're working, I'm going to be the first guy in line to say good job. And if you're not working, I'm going to be the first guy in line to say what's going on. So everybody's held accountable and so far so good, man. And the advisory staff in Canada is doing a great job for both Louisville and DeMarini. And in the U.S., well, our advisory staff is killing it, and our sales are really showing for it.
Now, I mean, I know a few of the ambassadors that you've got selected here in Ontario. Great people. Bob Hanning, Amanda Wilcox. Chris Crossley, Amanda Duffy. I know them pretty personally, and I mean they rave about the brand. I know it's not Louisville, but they're the Langto brand itself supporting it.
Yeah.
Who are some of the Louisville people here? I mean, Shane McMahon, still a Louisville guy.
Yeah.
Okay? So I mean, I play with Max.
Yeah.
So Max, another great ambassador, good guy, and I mean, he loves the Louisville product. What other guys are Louisville guys that you've got under and girls under your umbrella?
Well, we have a bunch, honestly. In Ontario, we have Matt Pine.
Okay.
He plays with Game On. Who else we have? We just added Ryan Talon.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
With Louisville. Ryan was, I think, 15-year veteran of the Worth advisory staff who decided to come on board with us. We have out west. We have Jeff Andrews, who's a top player in the game. We have Legault. Very talented. One of the best lefties in the game for sure. We have the two sisters, the Gobransons out there in BC. We just signed Jessie Goddard, a DeMarini girl. We have Justin Pinnell. We have Sean Gilchrist now. Every province, we're trying to represent someone. It's important. In the Maritimes, we have Thomas McKay, Simone Spears, Rob Keegan. Those guys are crazy out there. Like they literally post stuff every day. I never have to question what they're doing because they're so enthusiastic and they're so passionate about it. It's fun for them. So we have a great team. Honestly, it makes my life a lot easier having so many great people around. And I think we have the best players that we can to represent both brands.
Now, in terms of the brand and getting it actually into the stores, what's your role in that? Is that more Frank's area? Is that your area? You have a sales rep that's out there getting it into the stores?
Yeah. In Canada, it's totally different than the U.S.
Way different, right? In the U.S., it's a Wild West. Where
exactly.
In Canada, there's the retail shops are the ones that run the show. Yeah,
100%. I honestly, in Canada, it's really easy because everything is structured properly and it's fast. Okay, so every store has a rep, a Langto rep, basically. He explains everything. He shows the products, and they send in their orders, and it's booked that way. So it's in and out. It's fast. The stores in Canada are booking more and more Louisville and DeMarini now because the products are so much better than what they used to be. And I think everybody can see that basically right now what's going on in the U.S. and Canada, that both of these name brands are all over the place. Like on social media, where you can't open your Facebook and not see something about Louisville or DeMarini recently.
And I agree. I mean, my Facebook is swarmed with all softball people across Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, the game I've been blessed to be a part of the game for as long as I have and meet all the people that I have. And just seeing the passion that so many people have for the brand, it's crazy. And it saddens me though that there's so many people out there that, oh, why is that person this or why is that person that? Well, you know what? If you want to be in that role, show your value, show your worth, and put in the work, and maybe somebody will pay attention because you made it clear you're always watching. Right? It's like a junior hockey player playing in the games and you never know who's sitting in the stands scouting it out.
Exactly.
Right? So it's the exact same formula. And it's too bad that more people don't have that type of mindset to want to strive to have that type of a backing from an amazing company like Louisville.
Yeah, exactly. In the game of softball, there's always going to be people that, hate on others. That's just the way it is. And I think that's pretty much in every sport, like if you take in the NBA basketball, LeBron James, some people say he's not good, which is absolutely absurd. He's one of the best ever. They just don't like the guy. So they say he's not good. It's the same thing in slow pitch, so-and-so doesn't like this guy. How come he's an ambassador and I'm not an ambassador? That'll never go away, honestly. But at one point in time, you look past that and you don't really care about that BS anymore because the people that are chosen for a reason. Okay, they know what they're doing. They do their job well, And if you want to become someone like that, like there's easy ways to go about it without complaining. You know what I mean? You can post pictures, post videos, tag me in your stuff. I share everyone that tags me and stuff. I share. You know what I mean? So I put them on my platform after. I've got these guys in the US that are just starting to play softball, and you know, they don't have the best swing, they don't hit the furthest, but I don't care. You know what I mean? I have time for everybody. I don't care if you're the best player or if you're just playing in a church league on Sunday. I have time for everybody. So if you want to make an effort, I'm watching.
Now, I mean, we've talked a lot about Louisville, and I mean, it's a passionate job for you, and I mean, you couldn't ask for a better Monday to Friday job, even though it's not Monday to Friday. But you know, you couldn't ask for a situation for somebody who's as passionate about the sport of softball as you are. Now, I mean, I've played against you for many years. I mean, talk about your individual playing background, and like, you're not no slouch player. You know, you're not just some guy that happens to be buddies with the director of team. You know, you're a guy that's got game. Tell about your upbringing, of where you started in slow pitch in Quebec and where you are today.
Okay, well, basically, my dad growing up, my dad was a great athlete. My dad was going to make the NHL. My dad got a scholarship offer in the States for baseball, but the problem is he didn't speak a word of English. So that didn't work out. But I followed my dad growing up, and my dad played high level, fast pitch, modified softball. So I was always around the game. And I guess I could say around 17, 18 year old, when I was back for summer from hockey, I'd started to get into it. So I started playing tournaments probably around the age of, 18, 19, serious tournaments back in the aluminum bat days. And I played till I was around 22, 23, and I just got fed up of it. Like, it was getting heavy, going to events and listening to people complain and always bitching. And I was just like, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm not going to waste my weekends to hear everybody complain. So I stopped playing softball altogether. I'd hit balls once in a while for fun with a buddy. And it was at the age of 30 or 31 when I started getting the itch back again. And I went on, it's funny, I went on YouTube and I started seeing videos in the US with the long haul bombers and Conference USSSA. And I'm like, wait a minute, there is something to try and get to, because for a person like myself, I need a goal. Like, I have to see something and want it. And that just lights a fire under my ass. And I can tell you, like, people told me, you have no chance of playing there. You'll never play in the States. You'll never play on Team Canada. You'll never do this, never do that. I was like, okay, just watch. I'm going to work my ass off. And honestly, the amount of hours and time that I put into it from 30 years old to now is absolutely astronomical. Like, I preach hard work pays off for a reason. Like, I live by that rule. So when I started back, when I was 30, 31, I started back playing with my buddies. I think we're playing in a D. And, within a year, I went from D to A, and I went to my first, Canadian Championships with Red Light in London. Yep. Yeah.
That was like 2011.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I remember playing against you guys there. I was with the Orioles then. So that was and you guys came out of nowhere. You had some good games, and you competed all week.
And that was I don't want to say it was a team that was put together. It was a team that played C, who added a couple players to go there, and we ended up finishing fourth. You know what I mean? And as I know, back then, it was a lot stronger than it is now because there were less teams. So all the teams that were there were really good. Yeah,
I mean, I got to play in Canadians last year, and it was a little bit different, and not to take anything away from some of the other provinces that are sending teams. But I mean, when you've got SPNE teams going and playing in Canadian Championships, I mean, I get it. Yeah. But I mean, there's a business side, and I mean, you want to those hosts need those teams to help the bottom line, because it isn't cheap to to host the
No.
Canadian Championship. So now, you started with Red Light, you continue to work your way through the ranks, and you went from Red Light. Where did you go from there, and then ended up on Pharmapar?
Yeah, well, what happened is that Red Light basically emerged with Transat.
Okay, yeah.
So Chap's team and my team was Pat. He was the coach and sponsor, the Red Light guy.
Yep.
And they basically went together. So I started off with them, and then again I was like, I wasn't having fun. So I went to play with a bunch of buddies, doing other stuff, and I ended up going back with them. And shortly after, that's when we won a gold medal in St. Bruno. We had one heck of a team, and everything fell into place that week for us. So you know how that works. You can be on fire and then you just shit the bed. Happens to everybody, but it was our week, I guess. It was my first goal, my only goal, my only medal. So it was a great time. Like, that organization is run really professionally. They have a huge budget. I don't think anybody can come close to their budget and what they do. They could practically take that team and go play conference any day with the budget they have. But yeah, it definitely a lot of memories, a lot of good times, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. But it's all stuff that I remember, and appreciate.
I remember when I was playing for a team out of Massachusetts. We were a Reebok team, and Transit would come down and play in Connecticut in the Firecracker.
Yeah.
I mean, there was like a 6 to 8 game guarantee tournament, and it's like the weekend that never ended. There's just softball galore. You play a round robin, and then you get seeded into a bracket, and then you play the bracket, and you lose in the game. But I remember playing against them, and I think we ended up beating them in the semifinal. And it was one of the first times that I ever seen Huey pitch. It was a new experience for me to see him get behind the mound and pitch. And I mean, would you say that you talk about your budget for a team like Transat, Pharmapar now? I mean, where is the money coming from? Like, what is making them have such an amazing budget, and why is it that they don't go down and play in the U.S. in conference to better prepare them instead of, and not to take anything away from slow pitch in Quebec or anywhere else, but I mean, to better prepare them to try to win that Canadian Championship every year?
Well, they have amazing sponsors. They have sponsors that are loyal to them, that have been there year after year after year and give a lot of money. But they do it big. They do everything big. They have galas, and there's celebrities that show up from Quebec. When I say it's run professionally, it's run professionally. Like, they have people on the payroll that take care of certain things for them, for the team, because it's so much. The reason why they don't go to the States is hard to say. Obviously the budget has to go up if they start doing that, because now you're talking about, plane tickets and hotels every other weekend.
Sure.
So, that's a different game altogether. But, they're built for the game in Canada. The game in the U.S. is different. That. Yeah. They have some great baseball players on that team, so maybe they would be better now. But, back in the day, they've been down to the States, and it hasn't gone well. Yeah. So, they rather stay at home and try and dominate here, I guess, instead of going down to the States and just looking like another team. Because honestly, like, if you compare levels, like a top A team in Canada, let's say, example, the Orioles or whatever, that win Canadians on a steady basis, is a B team at best in the U.S.
Yeah, and I mean, the worst part too is it's such a different game playing U-Trip compared to what we play up here. I mean, a lot of people try to go down, and some people do really well with the flat low arc pitching, where other people here they just don't adapt to it, right? I mean, I got to play conference for 4 years, and it was I wasn't there to hit. I was there to do my job on the mound and pitch really well. And I mean, that's where my value was. I mean, I was lucky to hit 500 at that level because of the way that I hit. It was just a different type of a game, but they didn't care. I batted last and just pitched the ball, right? And it was a great experience, and I loved it. And I mean, if it wasn't for a wife and kids and all that good stuff, I might still want to be doing it. But
100%.
Yeah, but let's talk about you, Trip, and let's talk about conference. I mean, you're playing with SVC Louisville. Where's the team majority based out of? Are you from all over the U.S.? Do you have lots of Canadian guys? Like, what's the background with this particular team?
The team is based in Ohio, so we have a lot of guys that are from that area because there's a lot of tournaments in the central U.S. like Ohio. Columbus, Cincinnati. There's a lot of tournaments in that area. There's at least 3 or 4 big tournaments a year. So a lot of the guys can drive there. You don't have to worry about plane ticket stuff.
Right.
And so we have a lot of guys around there. We have myself, Talon, and Frank will be playing there.
Okay.
Obviously, Frank can't get there all the time because of work and because of his commitment to Pharmapar.
Yeah.
But last year I was supposed to be there. Talent as well, but with the border and everything, we missed the entire season. I'm crossing my fingers that something's going to happen in the next month or two with the border that lets us get across or whatever. But that's still up in the air, and that's the most frustrating thing is that we don't know what's going to happen. But,
I mean it's unfortunate. I mean, you look at some of the COVID things that are going on down there. I mean, Texas is getting rid of no mask order. Florida's been basically open. I mean, things up here. It's weird. It's just a matter of people being scared to do the wrong thing. And I get that. Like, I mean, nobody knows the real ins and outs of this, but I mean, the data is really starting to showcase where it's at. And I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I'm a healthy guy for the most part, and I'm not scared of COVID. I'm sure you're not. And I mean, if one of us got it, sure, we might be sick for a little while, but I'm pretty sure after 4 or 5 days, we'd be feeling fine and wanting to get out on the softball field.
Yeah.
So, I mean, talk about the schedule. I mean, I know of so many good tournaments in Ohio. I mean, I had convinced our Naturals team to want to go play in March in the
Mojo.
In the Mojo. I mean, I've been to the Mojo with the Orioles. I mean, it's a great tournament. Those diamonds at Berliner in Ohio are amazing. I think that the GSL guy, which is now, I guess, called One Nation, they do an amazing job. So that's one of the few tournaments that I know in the area. But I mean, you're not kidding. The amount of good quality softball in Ohio and Michigan is unbelievable.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you honestly, you can't compare to here. The game is totally different. The players are different. A lot of baseball backgrounds in U-Trip USA. Almost everybody on the team had played a good level of baseball, if not pro.
Yep.
Which is different from Canada. Like, let's say back in the day when we were playing and we were younger, it was just slow pitch guys. Guys that were brought up playing slow pitch. Now it's changing. Even in Canada now, you're getting the baseball guys that are coming into slow pitch.
Yeah.
But the game there is so different. Like like you said before, the fields are beautiful. They take care of their sports facilities over there much more than we do. The ball is harder. Everything seems more competitive to me. Like there's an edge. Yeah. And I'm sure that's what you liked about it as well, because you're a pitcher.
Yep.
And you're like, you want to win, man. Like you're going to war. And it's like that in Canada too. It's just something different. And I think you have to play there to understand that. It's hard to explain, but when you're playing like, one of the good teams in the States and you got balls flying by you, 150 miles an hour, you gotta be ready to play.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought that the competition was always so good. And I mean, up here in Canada, I mean, being from Winnipeg, I mean, man, we got no competition in Manitoba. There'd be 2 good teams. So we'd go down to North Dakota and Minnesota to play, but we always played ASA, right? So, because we felt it better prepared us for Canadians. We played C down there and we were okay. And then, I moved to Ontario. We play A here. Everything is going well. Fortunate enough to get to play, for Laser Vision, and then I played for the Reebok team out of Mass. And I mean, we lost in the finals in Sea Worlds in Florida with 100 I don't know, 80 teams. It was crazy. And losing in the finals. And we lost our second game and I had to play like 13. I mean, I'm sweating.
Exactly.
By the time the last game's coming around, I can't even lift my arms to throw the ball underhand. It was brutal. There's no more juking anymore. Here you go, hit it, and hopefully the defenseman can play, right? But there, it's you got one pitcher, you've got 11 guys, and you just go. It's not like here where, okay, we've got a 17-man roster, and people are always nervous about their – all right, am I coming out of the lineup? Am I not? No, guys can go 0 for 4 down there, and they'll be in the lineup next game, and nobody worries, right? And that's a good mental thing for those athletes down there. But I love you, Trip. I think it's an amazing sport. I don't think that the type of pitching would ever really catch up here in Canada. I just think that so many people are just so used to the higher arc stuff. It just would be honestly, hard to adjust, I think.
It's the pitching in Canada is kind of changing a little bit. If I see what's happening lately, like it's not as high as it used to be. Like when we were younger, you'd see a lot of 12 feet high pitches, like right on the limit. Now you're seeing a lot of 7-8 feet high. So the pitching has gone down, but it's still nothing like the U.S. I think the hardest part about bringing that game up here, honestly, is the umpires.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
That's going to be a disaster to start. You have to train your umpires. You have to give them courses on how to judge a strike, because now it's a strike zone. Yeah. There's a lot of rules to watch as an umpire, as a YouTube umpire. Like, it's nonstop. You have to be in the game. You have to see everything. You have to watch everything. And as a pitcher, there's a lot of things you can cheat with that they're watching.
Yeah, well, 100%. And I mean, I look at, from a competitive standpoint, I think the arc is a lot lower than when I first started to play A in 2001. Compared to now, it's way different. I still think, like, if you really wanted to, and I mean, as much as the competitive game is amazing up here in Canada, it's still not, there's still so many other levels. If you want to run a tournament, you're getting more lower level teams to be able to do it. And you try to throw a 5 foot, 6 foot pitches to those people, they'd be like, what the heck's going on? So I'm so used to 14, 15 feet. And nobody cares. You might as well call it unlimited arc. But I mean, the U-Chip game is amazing. I really hope that for your sake and Ryan's sake and Frank's sake, the border gets to open up and you guys get a chance to go back down and play again. In terms of being a Canadian, playing at a really good level down in the States, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that you've ever had the opportunity to represent our country in the border battle. Am I wrong in that statement?
Yeah, I played on the select team, and then I played on the main team.
Okay, sorry, I apologize for that. Then I didn't realize that you were on the main team. I thought you were on the select team, but I didn't realize you were on the main. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. And how was your experience on Team Canada? What did you think? What was the good? What was the bad? What did you take out of it?
Well, honestly, it was really fun. Get to hang out with guys that you don't really get to hang out with. Everyone's from a different province. The year I was on the main team, we played in Oklahoma, so that was a beautiful complex. We had a lot of fun. The organization is very professional. Don't act a fool. You represent Canada, which I like, because you're held to a certain level of respect. It was a good time. There's a lot of things to remember, and that's about it for that.
Now, in terms of Team Canada going forward and selections, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, everybody always wonders, how do these players get selected to be on Team Canada? I mean, it's like, how do you get the milk chocolate in a caramel bar? Like, what's the secret sauce?
That's a subject that I get asked a lot. I have people asking me, how come you're not on Team Canada? How come you're not on Team Canada? The first thing I'm going to say is that there are no bad players on Team Canada. For sure. Every single player that plays on Team Canada is really good. They're there for a reason, okay? The couple things that I do not agree with is the way that the players are chosen, first and foremost, because when we were younger, what you did at Canadians went a long way to being chosen for Team Canada, because you're playing ball for 1 week and you're playing against the best players. You know, you cannot get better competition in Canada than at Canadian Championships. What bothered me was there were players that were having bad Canadians that were still getting chosen for Team Canada. You know what I mean? And you know, I just find that it's not fair for the guys that work their ass off all year and perform at Canadians on the biggest stage that aren't picked. And you know, that this is my opinion. It's nobody else's opinion. I'm just saying what I think is right. And you know, no matter what team Canada puts together, it's going to be a hard battle against the US, just because of the amount of players they have there and the talent pool. But I think Canada, you know, they should work it out where they give chance to other players. You know, it's always the same guys going back. Again, like, these players are really good. They're the best players in Canada, but you have other players in other provinces that don't get a free shot, you know, a fair shot at it. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, like, example, I'm just gonna throw a little example here. You know, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, they have, you know, they support Softball Canada. You know, they go to Canadians, they do their part. They have some good talent out there. You know, they have Thomas McKay, Lee Bellefontaine, who both guys hit the ball as hard as anybody in Canada. They play really well defensively, but you know, they don't. If I'm not mistaken, Lee was on selects with me one year, but I don't think he made the main team. And Thomas, he's never been there. But these are just examples I'm giving to you, basically, that there's some people that are overlooked. You know, there's some province that have nobody on Team Canada, which I find is kind of weird as well. You know, when you have so many guys from Ontario and so many guys from Quebec, and then, you know, bits and pieces in a couple other provinces, it doesn't, you know, it's something you want to share, I find, and it's something you want to reward someone. You know, the last Canadians we had in Moncton, there's one player from BC, Stevie Way, and Stevie Way worked his way on Team Canada. Like, he had an amazing Canadian Championships. He hit for I don't know how much, but it was really good. You know, and this guy will catch him, make a defensive play with his mouth if he has to. You know, that type of player. And they chose him for Team Canada, which I really respect on Team Canada's part, that they took the guy for what he did at Moncton. But now, from what I'm hearing, is that they base basically your whole year of events. But you know, the problem is that Ontario aside, where you guys have the best setup for ball by far with the Super Series, and you basically have a Canadian Championships every 2 weeks with the best teams in Ontario. Like, for example, in Quebec, you know, there's 3 good open teams. You know, Pharmapar, Le Perron, Jack Saloon. After that, it gets watered down. You know what I mean? So it's hard to, you know, some guys like, you know, Ryan, they're gonna do really good in local tournaments. You know, hit for 750, 800. And, you know, they look really good. But when they get to Canadians and you're playing all the best players, whoops, you know, you drop down to 450, 500. So that's why I find that Team Canada should base more the performance on the guys at Canadians than you know, throughout the whole of their year. So.
I couldn't agree more in terms of the buddy system that, you know, might be in place. And again, I'm not privy to how people get selected on Team Canada. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be selected in 2010 and in 11. I mean, I've been able to be there 4 times. And I mean, that was in my pinnacle and high times of my career. It's when I put in the effort, right? So, you know, I just went to Canadians and did what I could, and I performed there. And I know because of the performance, I was fortunate enough to be selected. You know, was there better players with more power or could do other things that I could? Sure. But I mean, in that time, you know, the versatility that I provided was unmatched. And I mean, that's why I was always selected. And, you know, and the same could be said this year. I mean, there's so many good players. I mean, I haven't played in Canes in 5 years. Last year I go with the Naturals. I didn't recognize half the people there, you know, because all the old guys that I grew up playing against from 2001 on, they're they're older. They're all in their late 40s. Some of them are playing masters. So the youth movement in the game is unbelievable. And I mean, you look at those guys in Alberta, you know, the BC teams that we played against. I mean, so many good young players. And you talk about it. The sport of baseball is really doing a great job developing our players. And then once they're done their baseball careers, they look at it and go, instead of playing, local, senior men's baseball for nothing, they look at it and go, man, this is actually really competitive and a really good outlet for me to maintain that competitive juices that I still have. And
100%.
And playing for Team Canada is the pinnacle of what we can do as slow pitch players here in Canada. And getting there, it should be fuel to people's fires. And Softball Canada and should reward those players for such a great week, because having a great week there is a telltale sign that you can handle the pressure. And you know what? There's so much pressure when you step in the batter's box in Oklahoma City facing, any U.S. pitcher who's 6'4" and, takes up so much of the middle that you look at and go, wow, there's no real room to get by the guy. Like, it's a mentality to be able to play at that level. And some people have the mentality. Some people are homeboys, some people play in London every 2 weeks and they're studs. And everyone goes, oh my God, this guy's so good. Then they get to Canadians and where'd they go? You know what? Exactly. And you're right. They do get still selected on Team Canada. And trust me, some of my teammates on the Naturals are some of the better players around that I know have never had a sniff at playing in Team Canada. And I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's like you played hockey, you coach your hockey team. All right, I got to have this guy on my team because he's going to grind. I'm going to have this guy on my team because I know he's going to score goals. This guy's going to kill penalties. And, that's what they do, unfortunately. And it's no different than anything. It's a job.
I understand it's not easy either, choosing players because there's so many good players across Canada now. But, they have to, I think, do a better job in actually looking at certain players and what they do with Canadians. Because, for example, in Quebec, if we take the last 3 Canadian championships, the top 3 at batting averages were myself, Sean Prue, and Olivier Blier. And, I don't care about myself because I made it once. So, get my name out of there. Yeah. But those other 2 haven't even come close to making Team Canada. But there's guys that are way under them that are making Team Canada from Quebec.
Well, so Olivier is short pitcher, right?
Yeah.
Okay. His methods on the mound are crazy, and I mean he's fearless. Put him on the mound against some of the nut job American players that want to blast middle on him. He'll dance around and not to look like a fool and then piss off the American guys. And next thing you know, balls are getting ripped out of him, and he don't care. He's going to make the play. Like
funny story with Olivier. We had a tournament, U-Trip tournament in Palm Springs, and we were playing basically against Resmondo back in the day when they were worse. And he started like doing these crazy funny pitches and caught someone on a bad swing, and they're like, oh yeah, and you saw they were getting pissed at him. Yeah. And it was funny to see like this little guy from Canada, pissing off the best players in the world, basically.
Yeah. Well, and that's just pure arrogance for some of those American guys, instead of just respect the guy that's pitching against you, right? Who cares if he's a short guy from Canada that is dicking around? I mean, just hit the ball, right? I mean, you're supposed to be that good of a player. It shouldn't faze you, right? But no, I've had nothing but great thoughts about Olivier as a pitcher. I've always thought that he's been good, and there's definitely a guy that's been overlooked 100%. I mean, I last year didn't really focus too much on watching the batting titles because, well, I struggled myself personally. So, but I'm glad to hear that, some of those guys from Quebec. And for me, I would base my Team Canada picks on guys that take all your best averages against all the best teams. Take the average out against not to take anything away from New Brunswick or Northwest Territories that come, but those averages don't matter because, some of those hits are probably going through guys instead of actually being a clean hit.
Yeah.
So, take the average against, the 8 best ranked teams going into the tournament and then, determine an actual true batting average. And, there's a lot of guys whose stats get padded against, some of those lower level teams that do go to Canadians. And I mean, it's unfortunate. And I mean, I see that. I know you do. There's lots of people that do see it. But also it's hard too, because some of these volunteers, they're out there just trying to do the best they can. And, they miss things. And so
100%.
It's definitely hard.
It's not easy. Like when you have, 2 young girls that are doing the score sheet, 17, 18 years old, and a guy hits a shot, between second and third, and the shortstop and third, and shortstop touches it. Do you rule it a hit? Do you rule it an error? So there's a lot of that goes on, but that's understandable because it, like you said, they're volunteers. But I just find it, it's sad for the guys that put all the work in, like you said, and that they really do good against the top teams. Like for myself, I pride myself into hitting well against the Orioles, Aftershock, all the BC, that's what gets me going, is knowing I'm playing these top teams. A lot of players are like that, but like you said, yes, some players will have so-so games against those guys, but then go 4 for 4 or 5 for 5 against a team that's not in the playoff run or anything like that.
Yeah, the teams that are just happy to be there and making sure they contribute to the beer tent. I mean, that's exactly what they're there for, right? So it's tough, but the one thing that I always kind of didn't understand, because when I was fortunate to play on Team Canada, we didn't have to play on a 330-foot baseball field against the best pure power home run hitters and try to compete against them. With balls that are not, U-trip balls either, right? So, I mean, talk about, your thoughts on us. I don't want to say getting sent to the Wolves, because, I mean, anytime they get a chance to represent Canada, but talk about, your thoughts on, do you feel like, we're basically going into a gunfight with a knife?
Well, like I said before, no matter what team no matter who you choose for Team Canada, it's a tough fight against the U.S. just because of the population. We play softball 5 months a year,
if we're lucky.
If we're lucky, most of the guys there are playing 10, 11, 12 months a year. So right there, changes everything. You can't compare power wise. People don't understand. You've seen it, you have to see it to believe it, where you have guys that are missing home runs out of a stadium like it was nothing. It kind of feels like if we're playing on a field of 280 feet or 300 feet and we're missing them out, it's the same thing for them, but on a stadium field. It's ridiculous, but it's also for the guys that think they're so good and stuff. When they see that and they play at that level, it really brings you back down to earth quick.
Yeah, it's humbling. It's definitely humbling for humbling. Sure.
Very, very.
As a Louisville guy, we've over the last bunch of years, I don't know what year it actually got implemented, but I mean, I got to play through the heyday of guys using the most ridiculous types of bats in the Canadian Championships, where guys are using painted ultras as freak 98s and PSTs with sleeves in. I mean, I got to play through all the cheating that went on in Canadian Championships. We switched to stock bats. Louisville bats get to be on the fence. How do you think that's changed the Canadian Championships since putting all the stock bats on the fence?
Honestly, it's the best thing they could have done. I know, like you said, back in the day, dude, the cheating was absolutely insane. Some guys that, without mentioning names, built careers off playing with bats like that. You know what I mean? Yep. And to me, it's stupid because, deep down inside, you're a cheater.
Yep.
So I couldn't live with myself if I knew that. Supply bats is awesome. Now you really get to see the hitters and how good they are. Everybody is on the same level. at the same level playing field. There's no, there's no bats that are more broken in than others. They check the bats, they test the bats. I think honestly, it's the best thing they could have done, because I see it. I see with my own eyes. Guys that hit balls, 350, 360 plus, get the Canadians, and whoops, now I'm hitting 310, 320. So it kind of makes you wonder. I understand that guys have bats that are broken in properly and and whatever, but it makes you think. There's also the shootout in Aurelia where they did supplied bats, and you see guys they changed their game because they're not hitting home runs anymore. They're not even trying to hit home runs. They're base hitting. But if you see them in any other tournament, they're blowing them out everywhere.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah.
The stock bats I've liked. For me, I mean, the way I hit doesn't change. It don't matter. I can, give me a piece of wood and I'll do what I got to do. But I've enjoyed the stock bats. I thought it was a great thing. I think that it's really, really put an emphasis on who truly is a home run hitter and who isn't. And you know what? Last year in Moncton, with the conditions that they were, it was very, very difficult to hit home runs. Yeah. And, you look at the stats and you see which guys actually hit home runs. And I mean, it was few and far between. And I've never been to Moncton before to play softball, but holy moly, the conditions there with the wind blowing in your face all the time. I'm like, man, this sucks. Like for a guy who's trying to, just rip balls to the infield and go up and over, that wind, guys are cheating you because you can't hit it as far as you normally would. So it was tough conditions. And,
and the diamonds were big.
Oh,
the
huge
diamonds
diamonds.
were big.
Huge diamonds. But
fields too. The fields were 320 plus there.
Yeah, exactly.
On top of it. Yeah.
And add the wind, you need a 340-foot shot to get it out. So
100%.
Let's end this with talking about your current team, Jack Saloon, Spartans. I know that 2 years ago when I was in Moncton, we had a big game against them, and they got the big 4-2 victory against us. Yeah. But it was one guy that I believe hit a 3-run shot, happened to catch the wind, died down, and smashed the ball, and I think that was the difference in the game. But otherwise, what a game! Great defensive battle back and forth. I got to pitch against Olivier Belliere, and it was a great game. We win, we get double life. Different scenario. You guys ended up winning with double life, so it's such a huge thing at Canadians to make sure you get double life. But talk about your team. Have you guys made some additions? What's going on with it?
So basically, I was with Le Pro when we were in Moncton. Yep. And I'm going to be honest. We were supposed to do a merge with Jack Saloon to make one strong team. Yeah. But when stuff like that happens, there's always someone that complains, or some player they don't want this player, they want this player. So it's a tough situation to bring two teams together. It's like bringing two gangs together. Yeah. If it doesn't work, it could turn very bad quick. So it never happened, and I gave my word that I was going to go with Jack Saloon and stuff. So it didn't happen, and I wasn't turning back on my word. So I stayed with them. And last year we had a couple tournaments, even through the COVID and all that. We had fun together. Very scrappy, very hockey mentality type of softball team. Nice. The guys in the defensively in the diamond will stop the ball with any part of their body if they have to. It's that hockey mentality. A lot of guys there played senior hockey and stuff like that. A lot of tough guys. It's a total different atmosphere. These guys, they yell, they scream, they're intense. It's fun. It's fun to be around.
Rivalry in the sport of softball. I mean, earlier we talked about how the mentality in the U.S. is a little bit more hard-nosed compared to up here in Canada. And I mean, there's been times where benches have cleared between an Ontario team and a Quebec team. It seems to be the bad blood is only those two particular provinces getting against each other. The way that I feel too, though, is majority of what goes on up here in Canada, that whole hockey mentality that you had mentioned.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoyed about the game is that, when you played with your team as your team. You didn't really give a shit about what went on with, with the other teams that were going on. There wasn't that same kind of level of buddy that goes on up here in Canada now. What do you think of that rivalry between Ontario and Quebec? And do you think that it's too much of a love fest up here between all the other teams that play against each other, the Canadians now, and all the posting of videos online? And
it's kind of weird, actually. You play against some teams, like a Quebec team against an Ontario team, and I have a lot of friends in Ontario, and I'll joke around before the game, but once the game starts, man, it's game time. I want to fucking win. Words can be said. Things can get intense, and shit happens. After the game, I'm able to go see my buddies and say, "Hey, good game, man. Whatever happens on the field stays on the field." And I really think that's, the hockey part of all of us that play slow pitch that shows, because when I play with Pharmapar, obviously Pharmapar with the Orioles, there's a huge rivalry there because they're two good teams. Let's be honest. They want to be, who's the better team? Let's go. Who's got the bigger set? Often that could lead to, some bench clearing stuff like has happened in the past, but nothing really major has happened to that. A lot of yelling and screaming and pushing, but to me that's kind of stupid. Personally, if you ask me, if you want to start shit and really do something, we'll do it outside of the playing area, so we don't scrap our whole week at Canadians and take care of it like men somewhere else.
Sure.
But it gets intense. Some other teams, though, there's no intensity at all. They'll be joking during games. I've played against other teams where it kind of gets you in a rough spot because you're used to that yelling and screaming and banging, and then you got this other team that's like laughing and doing jokes and all. So you got to watch out, because those are the games sometimes that you get trapped
and
you get
come back and bite in the ass.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you taking the time. I know I asked you a few weeks ago, and like I said, I appreciate you coming on and talking about all the things that we've been able to chat with about. I know that you're a super passionate guy about this sort of sport of softball. Yep. Hopefully at some point, maybe this summer, I'll be able to get you up into my neck of the woods in Barrie and
that'd be
get
cool.
you to do some sort of hitting display for all the people that I got that play in my leagues and tournaments. And I think it'll be great. So
thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. It's great to have somebody that I know in the past, we haven't really had a lot of conversations between each other. It's great to get you on and learn a little bit more about you as a player and your experiences. And I mean, you didn't have to come on to talk about this, but I appreciate you doing it.
I love it. Yeah, I enjoy it. And, honestly, I like what you're doing as well. You're trying to find more ways to get the game of softball in Canada out there for everybody to see. All us softball players really appreciate you doing that. And, keep going, man.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And we haven't even scratched the surface yet of what my plans are here with the sport of softball in Canada. And I'm just going to keep chipping away and keep providing great opportunities for this game to be seen, in multiple different places. Yeah.
Well, keep going, man. Keep going. I like what I'm seeing.
Appreciate it. Jason, we'll get you on again in the future, and we'll with this particular episode number 3, we'll be airing here Tuesday night, next Tuesday night at 10 Eastern time. So
perfect.
We'll see you next week here on World Softball TV. Thank you again, Jason, and looking forward to all the future episodes here on amateursports.tv.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Take care. All right, let me end that.